On Expert Showcase, Irina Baranov, coach, consultant, public speaker. We're talking about your presence equals your success in work and life. Welcome, Irina, to the Expert Showcase. Now, we're going to start here with what we call inside or behind the scenes, behind the episode on Expert Showcase. Chris Sprague is our master at the helm of the controls here. He runs the show in the background there. So, Irina, let me walk you through real quick what we're going to do here in this segment here. You and I are going to have a little bit of a chat about the episode that we just shot, and then we're going to show the audience that episode at the end here. While we're doing that, Chris is going to be taking some notes. He's going to be sort of our coach in the background, taking some notes about our conversation, and then we're going to flip it over to him to give us some feedback about what he heard and some ideas and thoughts that come out of our conversation. Does that work for you?
Fine, let's go.
All right, let's do it. So you and I just created an episode called Your Presence Equals Your Success in Work and Life. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of the value of doing this kind of thing. I know that you do a lot of public speaking. You also appear on television and do that. Why is creating content like this valuable to you?
Well, it's valuable to me because when I'm talking about presence or when I'm talking about helping people change their lives, they need to see me. They need to get a sense of who I am. They need to experience just a little taste of what it will be like to work with me.
Absolutely, and that's honestly the whole concept of Expert Showcase, is that you are an expert, but what a better way to give people a sense of that than demonstrating your expertise rather than just saying, hey, I'm an expert in presence. Great, that's anyone can say that. How about you show me that you're an expert in presence? And that's what we're going to show people in a few minutes here when they see the episode. So absolutely. So walk me through a little bit about how you create, content when you're doing that. Even the way we did it here. What's your process?
So the process for content is different if I'm writing or if I'm creating video or other ways of communicating the kinds of things that I work on with people. Obviously, with video, you have a shorter time period, so you have to be clear on what it is that you want to convey. So I liked how you put things into three major points, and then we talked about that. When you're writing, you can kind of just go on, and it takes more time to do that. It takes more time to write. It takes more time for the audience to read it, and sometimes they'll get more out of short, organized content like this than they will out of a longer piece.
And just to be clear, I mean, so that people know what we're talking about, we have a process where you filled in some information and in a structured way. So we targeted the problem that you were going to talk about presence and how that goes to success. You kind of created a summary, and then we targeted three main takeaways to make manageable chunks for people, right? And that flow gave us what we're going to show people in a minute in the episode, so that they can kind of see how that works.
Yeah, that was super helpful. That structure was super helpful and made it easy and fun. Excellent.
Well, and that's part of the structure that we do sort of on an ongoing basis. So let me ask you that, though. So you were doing this very focused piece here on presence. I'm assuming that you have a ton more content that you could talk about presence, right? I mean, this was a little nugget that we were trying to create in an episode. So tell me a little bit about the database of content that you have. I mean, how do you organize that and kind of store it for yourself?
So I could spend hours talking about tone of voice and what you wear and the way that you pay attention, the way that you ask questions in conversation, the way that you present information when you're in front of a group, the way that you handle relationships. Hours and hours and hours of content that I could and probably should create, but where's the time? Like, I'm busy actually doing the work that I do, so I actually don't focus on content creation.
Well, funny you should say that, Irina, because I mean, I don't think you're unique in that, right? I mean, I think that is the life of a coach, a consultant, a busy expert, is that you get your nose to the grindstone doing the work, and you end up not having the time or carving out the time for the production of content. So, but let me ask you, if you had an easy structure, you know, I mean, if you had a simple way to kind of do that, do you see the value of having the Irina Baranov show on a regular basis? Is that something that is worth considering?
Huge value, huge.
Well, tell me a little bit more. Huge how? What, you know, how would you use something like that?
Well, so here's the reality. I'm fortunate, and I'm rather unique in that I get to go on TV. Most experts don't, and I've worked myself with hundreds, with probably thousands of people who have expertise that they're struggling to get out to the world. And again, they don't necessarily get to go on TV and talk about it and then have a nice little video clip that they can share with their social media, with their newsletter contacts, with their friends and family, whatever. So for people who don't get to do that, having something like this that's structured, that's kind of condensed into bite-sized, digestible pieces, or even longer formats, it's extremely valuable. It's what we talk about of show don't tell. We can talk and tell about who we are and what we do, but what you and Chris are allowing and nurturing is the ability to show, which is priceless.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love what you're saying. I mean, we are very visual creatures, right, as human beings. I mean, I often find, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Absolutely. A blog post is great. A blog post with a picture kind of catches my eye more, especially if someone's done the work of creating a picture that encapsulates what this is about. But then a video clip really catches my eye. As I'm scrolling through my Facebook, feed, I'm always clicking on the videos first because, hey, it's a very quick way to get a ton of information that doesn't overtax my brain, right? So. Yeah.
And I will tell you that for the more successful experts out there who don't necessarily have the problem of marketing and trying to get clients, they actually have a lot of demand for their time. Videos are a really great kind of choosing process where you allow people to choose you based on who you are and your energy and your wisdom and what you project out into the world, because again, to read something by somebody gives you this much sense of who they are, but to watch a video gives you this much sense of who they are. And all of my best clients that I've started to work with came to me and said, I saw a video of you doing X, talking about X, and I really like your energy, I really like what you're saying, I really want to work with you. Whereas before I had any kind of video content, I was spending hours and hours on the phone with prospects who really weren't a good fit for me. But that's kind of the name of the game. Somebody sees you, gets your card, sees your website, calls you and says, can you help? And of course you're going to spend time on the phone and see if you can help.
Absolutely. Well, and before we bring Chris back in here, because I got to check up on him and make sure he's not just doing his email over there, so he's clicking away. Other people can see what he's typing on screen there, but I can't, so I'm not quite sure. So I got to check up on him in just a second here. But what you said is so true, because video content serves two purposes, and you just said it. It's absolutely to attract your ideal client, but it's also to detract your non-ideal client. You want to scare away the person that is not right for you. You want them to feel what your personality is about so that they can click with you or not, right? So that you and the client don't waste each other's time.
Yeah.
So I think that's
what? Case in point, I got a fun email from a colleague who had referred somebody to me, and she said he viewed some of your videos and decided that he can't afford your fees. Which is kind of funny because I don't talk about my fees.
Because you don't talk about your fees. Well, you just look like money, Irina. You know what?
I have to say, I'm not heartbroken over that. I'm not heartbroken over the fact that I don't have to spend yet another hour on the phone talking because that's what I tend to do. I will get sucked into somebody's problems and try to solve them and try to help them, and an hour later I realize this person can't afford to work with me. What am I doing here? So
I think we can all relate to that moment. All right, let me bring Chris back in to make sure he's not checking his email over here. Chris, you done tweeting over there and doing Facebook and doing whatever you're doing over there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So wait, let me finish up this last email, and then I'll. No, I'm just kidding. The funny, yeah, as you said, the folks on screen can see. So first of all, thank you very much for your kind words and for your episode today, Irina. It was awesome to have you on the Expert Showcase. I kind of feel honored. We were talking a little bit before. We just watched. Irina's been on local television here in the Philadelphia area before, so I kind of feel honored, Mark. Now we can say we've interviewed somebody that Yuki Washington has interviewed as well. I mean, this is it's an awesome thing. But no, you have a lot of great things to say, and I loved how, before I even get into the rest of my notes, I loved how you put it short and succinct. From somebody who loves to talk a lot, I'm a professional speaker, and people usually pick up on that about 30 seconds in when I haven't shut up after 3 hours, or 3 hours in when I didn't shut up since the first 30 seconds, one of the two. So
he forgets to breathe sometimes too.
Exactly. There we go. Take a breath. But it's really great when I can. When I hear somebody else like yourself who's also a professional coach and a speaker who can boil things down very succinctly, because I think it was Albert Einstein, I know John Maxwell said this in one of his events, but I think it was Albert Einstein said any idiot can make things complex. It takes a real smart person to make things simple, which is kind of interesting. So you really simplified everything, which I think for anybody who's watching this is a great key. So if you take nothing else from what Mark and I are talking about with Irina, if you take nothing else from what Irina said, realize that what she did in about six and a half minutes was boil down something that was a very complex topic, made it very simple, and I think it's one of the things you should be commended on. And people, if you're a coach or consultant and you're still watching this, that's one of the things you should take away. So here's some of the other notes that I took. I'm going to feed some back to you. Some I'm going to say thank you, and some just going to kind of give you maybe a little bit of a different perspective, or maybe take a look at how you could utilize this going forward. I loved how you said the value of creating the content gives potential clients a taste of what it's like to work with you. So that's it. That is a huge value of doing this. If you're a coach or consultant, I loved your process for creating the video, and it goes back to the whole being short. It's like, look, when you're on video, you don't want to write a book. You don't want to go through and have a have a keynote speech. You're not doing 45 minutes. You're not doing 8 hours. You're not Tony Robbinsing. You're not being Tony Robbins on the stage for 13 and a half straight hours without eating or doing anything else. You're not doing that. You have to be short and succinct. Thank you for the compliment on the 3 bullets. It's kind of interesting. Mark and I did that and created the system because it's a natural, as you know, as a coach, it's the smaller the smaller bite-sized chunks you can give people, the more they're apt to hold on to it. And from all the brain research studies, that kind of rule of 3 really comes into play, where if you give people 3 things, in fact, I think even the interview you did with Yuki had kind of 3 main points, and you probably experienced that when you go on.
I always shoot for that. You're going to learn 3 main things today. Boom.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you're on local television or even national, it becomes even more important, because they don't give you 15, 20 minutes. You're on, you've got, hey, by the way, you're the expert. Yep, but you got 3 minutes, and
you better have your talking points lined up, right?
If you're lucky, you have 3 minutes. Sometimes you have 30 seconds.
Well, and that's how you can immediately tell a pro like Irina from because they'll use someone who's not comfortable will have used their full 3 minutes just kind of getting started, and it's like, oh, we got to cut to commercial now. See ya. Wait, I haven't said anything yet. That's right, you have not.
Yeah, exactly. So the interesting thing, I heard you talk about your content, so I want to give you some feedback on it. Now, I know that, like I said, I know you're a public speaker. I can dare talk. I can speak too. Boy, sometimes breathing and the tongue, it just all doesn't work together right. But anyway, so I'm sure as a great public speaker, you plan your speeches and you sit there and you do all the preparation that's necessary. As far as your content goes and creating it, you even said that you're doing so much work that you don't have a lot of time to create content. Have you given any thought to, like, even some of the things you were talking about presence and what you wear and how you come across? Have you given any thought to how you could structure that into bite-sized content chunks that you could create?
I have. I've given it thought, and again, I'm so blessed. I'm so fortunate to be in the unique situation that I am. I don't necessarily feel that I desperately need that content, but I will tell you, when I consult others, and I've actually given Mark's name so many times, call this guy, please call. There's no video on your website at all. People have no sense of who you are. Like, I know you don't have time to create content, but please go put yourself in somebody's hands who can help you create it. So yes, I know the value of it. I preach and teach the value of it. For myself, I think I do have enough little pieces, or little to medium-sized pieces of it, both on my website and on my LinkedIn, that for me in my very, very small world and what I have the bandwidth to do and accomplish, I have enough.
Okay, excellent. Is there, so before I get to the rest of the wrap up, we're doing this as as Mark had said, a little bit of a coaching and consulting. From a content standpoint or from a video standpoint, is there one question that you might have that either, whether it's before this or during this, I know you've interacted with Mark before, but is there any one question that you have that we might be able to answer for you that would help you in either your business or your content creation process, that you could put into action here today or in the near future?
That's a good question to ask a question. Okay. I guess, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I guess my question would be, what next? So you have content. So you create video. I have some videos. Other than putting it on your website and blasting it out to your social media, what can you do with it? What can you do with the content that you create?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting you bring that up. So part of it is, as you had said, blasting it out to social media. One of the systems that we've developed is, you send out bite-sized chunks to your social media of your existing content so that you lead them up to the main thing. So one of the things you can do is take, like an episode like this, take it, and as we affectionately refer to it, the 6, 15, and 60, which is you take the first 6 seconds, which is kind of like a Vine clip, and you put that out there. You take the next 15, which is kind of like a commercial or a trailer, and then you take the next 60 seconds, which is getting people more engrossed and pulling them in to get that content in. The other thing you can do is you can monetize your content. And this is what most people who are successful kind of lose sight of, because people are so successful and they're bringing in so many clients and they're working so hard on that they say, okay, this is great and I've got these high dollar clients, so I don't have to worry about putting time, resources, and energy into doing any sort of recurring revenue, so to speak. But one of the things we teach people how to do is monetize their content. So you give pieces of your content away for free, and then you end up starting off with maybe a free membership area and then migrating into a paid membership area. Now, paywalls and that thing, I got a lot of bad rep when the New York Times did it and everything. Let's face it, every big marketer, everybody is out there doing it. It's all at the different levels of how much content they're giving away. But you put everything aside. Some people are giving away a little bit of their content and making you pay for a lot of it. Some people are giving you a lot of content, but you still pay for some things to be part of a membership area. So what I would say to you is, especially having a lot of these little bits of content, one of the most effective things for you would probably be to engage with somebody who could take that content, look at all of it, decide which content is, I'll say, monetizable and which content is the giveaway, and then build an environment like we do for our clients, which is build basically a control center, a mission control, or a website, a blog system, a membership site, so to speak. I don't want to get too I don't want to throw too much jargon in, but I think you get the point. It's just an area where people come to where you give, and then you say, look, I've got a couple little extra things for you. If you want, give me your name and email address. You can get these, and then going forward, you can charge people a monthly fee. It's kind of like, one more example. It's the iTunes. It's the iTunes model. If you look at iTunes, there's the majority of songs, you go up to iTunes and you can get a free listen, 25 seconds, 30 seconds, to see if you like it. And if you like it, you pay $1 for the song. And if you like the song, you pay $9.95 for the album. So you can do that with your content as well.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. There's sort of a content evolution, right? I mean, you want to be busy, of course. You're building your business, you're building your practice, and you want to have lots of clients. But you hit a plateau at some point where there's not enough hours in the day anymore, and we all eventually reach kind of what the market will bear in terms of fee. And so where do you go from there? Well, monetization is the next evolution, where you take the great stuff you're doing with your clients and you package it and deliver it, where you have much more reach, and you're no longer in that hourly time trap, right? So that's the next step. So.
And I have to say, the most attractive part of everything that you guys are saying is, of course, I'm very familiar with sales funnels and monetization. And again, I preach and teach this stuff when I'm talking to people about marketing their business. And again, because I'm typically working with business owners and senior executives, they have resources at their disposal. So when I say, go talk to your marketing team about creating a sales funnel and monetizing the content, they go, okay, well, I'll just go make that happen. For somebody like me who works by myself to say, well, go talk to, I don't have a marketing team. So to even, fathom the steps that it would take and the resources that it would take to do that, it just makes my hair hurt. And so when I hear Chris say, we could do that for you, we could package it up, do all the back end and the paywall screens, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that sounds very appealing.
Excellent.
Well, excellent. Well, and I just want to warn you, Irina, don't let your hair hurt too much, because bad things can happen.
That's what happens, right?
Bad things can happen. Don't let that condition fester.
And that's an incredible way to put it, Irina. When you're dealing, because most coaches and consultants, regardless of how successful they are, unless you've created a business where you are also hiring other coaches and consultants, you don't have a marketing department. You are your marketing department, and you don't have exactly all of the other things. So that's I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you asked the question. It's always funny, because I'll digress for one quick second. Irina, it's funny because this is going completely off topic here, but I know I saw the look in your eyes, and you're like, as a public speaker, I always hate when people ask me the question and put me on the spot, and I just go and most
I can't do that to him.
And you notice you turned it right back around. You asked her a question, and she asked you a question back. Excellent.
Exactly. Well, it's funny because I'm I also do work with the John Maxwell team. I'm a founding partner in his coaching, teaching, public speaking certification program. And Paul Martinelli, the guy who runs it, always talks about, never let your audience ask a question, because you can't control what's going to happen. And I'm just like, what? Let them ask, because if I fall flat on my face, oh well. There's it's not the first, it won't be the last. And I'm glad you actually asked that question, though. So you came up with a great question. So a couple.
Well, you know what I say? I say there's magic in the mess. So go ahead and get messy. Ask questions. Bring up things that are uncomfortable. There's magic there.
Exactly. As a great coach, you know that all too well. And I got to throttle myself back, Mark. I got to put the hook on myself. I want to give a couple of updates, but if I don't put the hook on...
So wrap us up, Chris, because people want to see Irina's episode that we've been talking about here, and we want to get to it right quick here at this point. So wrap us up.
Exactly. Well, the other thing I do want to say, and I want to reiterate something Irina had said, is that part of the challenge is having the time to create the content, and that because even if you have a full client load, when you're trying to take in new clients, you're spending coaches and consultants are spending so much time on the phone that they don't realize sometimes that if they spent more time doing video, more time creating content, they could trade the time that they're on the phone with unideal clients or non-ideal clients into time spent creating content, so their ideal clients self-select themselves and get onto your phone, so that it becomes an hour conversation that leads into a 4, 5, 6, 7-figure client, versus hundreds of hours of conversations that might lead into one client, and from a speaker's perspective, your close rate is always the most important thing. So anything you can do to up that and increase your chances of actually having a close is a pretty good thing. So once again, thank you very much, Irina.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Now, if you're a coach or a consultant and you're still watching, which we, at this point, Of course, if you're listening to my voice, you're still watching. We like to have a lot of fun. So if you're a coach or consultant and what we've said today in this piece resonates with you, wonderful. Check out the rest of the stuff that's on Expert Showcase and get a little bit of a taste for what's out there, because this might be the right platform for you to take a look and for you to join us as an expert guest. So if that sounds like something that you like to do, go out to expertshowcase.com, click on the big apply button and send us your information, and we'll take a look at it and we'll get back to you. Now, if you're a coach or consultant and you already know, based on listening to Irina and listening to us talk, that this is the next step in your evolution, in your content evolution, then what we want you to do is go out to VideoContent.Agency or VideoContent.Agency.com. Check us out there and check out the packages that we offer. And we would love to talk to you, give you a quick consultation, and see if we're a good fit for each other, and if what we have to offer can help you take your business to the next level. So Mark, until next time.
Yeah, what he said, and let's roll the tape and show Irina's episode. So thank you so much for being our guest, Irina. We're going to show people your episode right now. Today on the Expert Showcase, coach, consultant, and public speaker extraordinaire, Irina Baranov, talking about your presence equals your success in work and life. Well, hello, Irina, and welcome to the Expert Showcase. How are you today?
I'm great. Pleasure to be here.
Well, glad to have you. We're talking about your presence equals your success in work and life. Tell me a little bit about that. What are we going to cover today?
Yeah, so presence is one of my favorite topics to talk about, and it's kind of like an under topic underneath the things that people say are pain points for them. So they can come in and talk about the fact that their management style or their leadership style or their personal relationships need to be improved. And there's a layer under that, and I say it starts with you. It starts with your presence. What are you bringing to the party? So let's really talk about that.
Excellent. And I know in prepping for the show, we talked about the fact that we're going to cover three main takeaways. So I just want to orient people so they know what's coming. We're going to talk about assess, we're going to talk about paint, and we're going to talk about plan. So I'm very intrigued by all three of these keywords here. So let's dive into assess. What do you mean in this assess phase, and how does that relate to your presence?
Yeah, so the assess phase can be done a couple of different ways. Typically people from the corporate world come in with a 360 and they say, here's my 360, and here's what the people around me are saying, and here's what I agree with, here's what I don't agree with. So they have a ready-made assessment. Other people can take online assessments and kind of glean insights about themselves. Other people will do kind of a journaling, but the absolute best kind of assessment is what I call game film. Bring me actual game film of you being in the world. So whether that's a video of you fighting with your partner, whether that's a video of you giving a speech or heading a meeting, give me something to look at so that we can sit down together and say, oh, look at that. Because the stories that we tell about how we are in the world are often very different from the reality.
I love that, Irina, because you're so right? I mean, if you're relying on what I say about myself, I might be self-delusional. That happens, right? But the videotape doesn't lie. So if you've got actual recordings of, and I guess it depends on the kind of client you're working with on any given day, whether they have ready access to that. But that's a very cool concept. I'm not sure I've ever seen somebody really bring that game day film. I love it.
It's effective. It's helpful.
I totally believe it. Well, so you've got that assessment then. Hopefully they've got some of that game day footage for you that you can really kind of dive in and see what their presence is really all about. So what is this paint phase that we're talking about then? I mean, what do you do there?
Yeah, so the paint phase is once we have a really good picture of reality, which is, ouch, that's not always painless. They're not coming to me because everything is happy and wonderful. They're coming to me because there are some pain points. But once we get past that, once we know what that is, the other parts actually are really fun. So the paint phase is, let's paint a picture of how you want life to be. Of who do you want to be personally, who do you want to be professionally, how would you like the ideal version of that film to look? So we got the raw footage. how do you actually want it to look? What do the touchdowns look like, feel like? Who are you in that idealized vision of yourself, whether it's of yourself as a partner, a leader, a parent? Let's talk about and really paint a vivid picture of who you want to be.
So you're really crafting an image to put in their mind of the destination of where your work together is going to go, right? I like that too, obviously. So you've kind of shown that, you've held up a mirror, whether that's sort of a stark reality or a slap in the face or a little cold water on those self-delusions. But now you're really fleshing it out, saying, hey, here's where we can go, right? Here's where we can get to.
Yeah, and get to actually, let me know if you're ready for the plan phase.
Yeah, well, I think that's the perfect segue, right? Because now we got to get there. So here's where we're starting. Here's your stark game day footage. This is what your presence really looks like.
Yeah.
Here's where we can get to.
Yeah.
How do we get there?
And get to actually are key words, because oftentimes the image I use are two islands. So you've gotten a good sense of island A. It's got some rubble, and you're kind of alone, and it's way too hot, and there you are on this island. And you've also painted a picture of island B, which is inhabited by, lovely little creatures and beautiful flowers, and food is abundant, and you're surrounded by all sorts of attractive people doing all sorts of fun things together. So once you've gotten a picture of these two islands, the get to, that's the plan. So what's the boat? Who's the captain? What's that journey? What's the destination? That's the plan. That's the planning phase, and keeping that phase day after day, week after week, month after month, until you get to Island B and really live Island B is what we talk about, and that's the work.
And I know that in your work you don't really let people get away with kind of a fluffy plan, right? It's got to be a realistic plan that actually has real paddles that can move through the real water that can really get you to that island, right?
Yeah, realistic and exciting. Like if Island B is marginally better than Island A, I'm probably not the coach or consultant for you. I'm probably not. Yeah, like I really want to help people level up, and dramatically.
Well, and I'm guessing in that paint phase, that's exactly what you're doing, right? You're gonna, if their island is a little too small or a little too close, I know you well enough to know that you're going to help them paint a much bigger picture, a much more vivid picture, right? And then build this step-by-step plan to get there. Yeah. And that's then the real work that you're doing, as a coach or a consultant, depending on the kind of client, right? You're helping them then implement that plan in some kind of structured format, right?
Right, exactly. And sometimes the client is an organization. Sometimes it's not just a person. It's how do we want this team to feel? How do we want this business to feel? What is that image? What is that picture? And let's go take that journey.
Right. So the entity can be small or large that you're working with. I mean, it can be one-on-one coaching. It can be corporate consulting, right? I mean, it's really just the same principles apply.
Totally.
Absolutely. Well, I get it now. I now understand your title. Your presence equals your success in work and life. We've covered some real basic 3 building blocks of the process, showing people the presence in that assess phase, what do you look like right now, painting that vivid picture of the future, the destination you're trying to reach to, Island B, I love that imagery, and then building that plan, building your boat, building your systematic way of getting from Island A to Island B. So Irina is here to work with you if you are resonating with this island and you have a journey of your own to take to get there. Irina, I know people can get in touch with you. You have a wonderful website. It is irinabaranov.com, and that's where we'll put that information up for people so they can get it to get the spelling right. But irinabaranov.com, lots of great information there about coaching, about consulting, about your public speaking, and people can get connected with you there. Irina, thank you so much for being our guest on the Expert Showcase. I know people have gotten some really good imagery about heading towards their Island B, right?
Yes, absolutely. And the final message that I would want to leave your audience with is it's possible. It's possible to live a different life than you're living today. It's possible to be in different and better relationships. It's possible to be a different and better manager, leader, parent, partner than you are today. It's possible. You don't have to let the past dictate the future.
Excellent. Well, we really hope you enjoyed that episode. So, Chris, what should people do right now?
Yeah, if you're a coach or consultant and you realize that starring on an episode of Expert Showcase is going to help put your business forward, what we want you to do is go to expertshowcase.com, click on the apply button, and apply to be our next featured expert on the Expert Showcase. And if you're a coach or consultant and you've got a lot of content and you realize after watching this previous video that doing your own show would put your business forward even faster, then what we want you to do is go out to VideoContent.Agency, check out what we have to offer, contact us, let us consult with you, and let's design a program and a package around you and your content. I think that's about it. Did you have anything else, Mark? Dr. Mark, anything?
Just do what he said.
Yeah, not what he said.